Well, welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining me today from the Department of Trade Consumer Protection, it's my favorite DATC person, Michelle.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having
Don't tell
me.
Laura.
Lips
Don't
are
tell Laura.
sealed.
She didn't see or hear any of this. That's perfect. No, I appreciate you stepping in here today and for helping us all this month. Today we're going to talk about a few different topics, all kind of relating to the same thing. And we've discussed this earlier in the month, but as COVID, the pandemic has moved on, more people have lost their jobs or lost income, and we want to make sure that we keep people protected in this from whatever they can or can't do, both from people, whether they're paying their mortgage, paying rent, utilities, all of that. So as we start, let's take a look at rental properties. We do have kids going back to school. I'm sure contracts were signed a while ago for rental properties, but as students move back into these rental properties, if school cancels, if school goes all online and they're like, well, I don't want to stay down or stay in these homes. What are we looking at here, and what should we be thinking about in this new era?
Yeah, it's a big open question for these students because many in our area may have signed rental agreements for a full year prior to the pandemic ever happening, because some properties you look and project pretty far ahead as to where you want to live in down in the campus area. So yeah, they could be locked into a situation. And when you sign a rental agreement, that is a contract. It's for whatever period of time you have agreed to, normally a year. And again, it's a contract. You are locked into that situation. But if you need to cancel or move out and you choose to do that with being informed with information, you let the landlord know, put it in writing as to when you're going, but no, you're still responsible for the entire period of time of that agreement, unless the landlord can rent it to somebody else. So that would be the way that you'd become not responsible. And you really want to communicate. Talk with your landlord, let them know what your situation is, what you're experiencing. And if you're a student and a first-time renter, maybe talk to your parents, talk to someone who's got experience, call Consumer Protection so you know what the law says about these situations. We can't give you legal advice, but we can let you know what the law says so you, again, are making informed decisions about, the next steps.
Yeah, that's, I think, very crucial this year is keeping the open dialogue between the two parties has got to be huge. And then the documentation's got to be there. And something that I've asked you many times is document when you get into these contracts and trying to get out, keeping those documented. What would be some of those documents that they would need or have in hand as you're trying to work through these type of scenarios if you do want to get out?
Right. Well, I'm just going to go big picture on documents since you brought it up. I mean, when you're moving in, you want to make sure that you fill out a check-in sheet. Assess the condition of the property, document it. Sometimes the landlord gives you a sheet of paper to do that on. Otherwise, get out the notebook and start writing it down. Keep a copy, give a copy to the landlord. The other document you want from the landlord that should be in your written rental agreement is who you get rent to and when that is due, and then be honoring that, know that you're responsible, and who you report maintenance problems to. And if you have them, do that timely. So those are the basic documentations you want. And then what that does is protect you on the back end. So now it's time to move out, whether it's because you're at the end of your lease or you've broken your lease. You want to make sure you walk through with the landlord and do the condition of the property so you know what damages you might be responsible for. Maybe you can fix some of them. And you want to make sure the landlord knows where you're going so you can get any potential security deposit back, and he or she knows where to send that to. So that's the document you need to provide your landlord in reverse. And that's, again, if you're going all the way through your lease or if you're having to break it early. And then if you're breaking it early, you want to pay attention and be in communication with your landlord back and forth about whether or not that property is being rented. Watch for a listing. They may have many properties open. Yours doesn't have to go first. Other ones could, but be paying attention to that, monitoring it, and staying in communication.
Yeah, I think that's great advice this year. There's so many what ifs out there right now. And if you do get into a sticky situation, I think you got to have a backup plan and have those documents ready to go. I just think it's just to be safer. On another front too, if you are faced with that tough decision that you've lost your job and you are, you're binded to that contract. We had some delayed payments for a while that went away. As a tenant, obviously, or at both parties, you could try and work something out if possible. But if you can't work it out, I mean, can somebody really just put you out on the street and evict you? I mean, no matter what age. I mean, I've seen the stories of people who've lived someplace 37 years and be kicked out, because they couldn't do it. So, where do we stand on that front?
Yeah, so whether you have an agreement in writing or just a verbal agreement, you're responsible to pay rent on a regular basis, whatever that was established to be. And if during this time you've altered that agreement because maybe you've gotten to be put on a payment plan, you want that in writing. That's another document, but you want to make sure that you honor that. If you don't, under the law, the Wisconsin statute, a landlord can give you a notice of termination. Depending upon your type of agreement, they can give you a right to correct it, or they can just say, we're done, we're terminating this. And then you need to move out in the time period designated. If you don't go, they can take you to court to try and get an eviction. And yeah, you would be removed from the property by the sheriff if you don't go voluntarily, if the courts award that. So there are some resources out there for tenants still. The Wisconsin Rental Assistance Program, if you're struggling to pay rent. Again, talk to your landlord, see if you can get a payment plan. And then if you're struggling with utilities, because depending upon how those are broken down, that can have an impact with your landlord as well. There are, talk to the utility provider, see if you can get a payment plan. They're not doing disconnections right now. That has been suspended until September 1st if you're behind or delinquent. So no disconnections, but you don't need a disconnection notice to seek assistance if you're behind. And you can also just try and seek government assistance for your utility as well by going to homeenergyplus.wisconsin.gov and seeing if you can apply for assistance with utilities there.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the utilities and that extension at this point for what it is. As we get closer to the wintertime, I'm sure we'll have to take a little bit closer look at this and other things. Michelle, thank you so much for going through this today. I know that's a tough one because there's a lot of what ifs there, but I think doing the things you just said, stands a chance at least keeping both parties, keeping that dialogue open and can prevent from further probably devastation or costly lawyers and everything else in between. So thank you so much for that.
Absolutely. Reach out to Consumer Protection, get the information in writing if you need it. Give us a call, 1-800-422-7128, or go to the website at datcp.wi.gov. We still have a COVID-19 section and landlord-tenant FAQs.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll check back in with you next month.
Sounds good. Take care.
Thank you. Yeah, check the website, DATCP. They've got a great section in there, as Michelle mentioned, on everything we just talked about. And document. That's all I'm saying. All right, we'll take a quick break. More to come. You're watching Talking Pittsburgh.